The fly I'm going to tie here is a tube fly. It's a bunny strip tube fly. I like to use plastic tubing for it. I start with about 1.5 inches of tubing. And to keep all the material on the tube, I like to take a lighter, kind of burn the edge of it. Just get it melting a little bit where it starts to melt. Then I'll take it and kind of just push it down on the vise or any flat surface right there. If you can kind of see, it puts a little bit of a lip on there. And what that does is it gives a place for the thread to hold on to as you get towards the front of the tube. Go ahead and insert that on the tube tool. Put it into the vise there. Start my thread a little more than halfway back. The first piece I tie in is the actual bunny strip. I like to just peel a little bit off of the hide there just to give it something to bite onto. Hold it on there. Give it a few wraps to secure it down. Next step, I like to take a little bit of saddle hackle or any kind of schlopping will work there. Tie that in. Clip the excess off. And from here, what I like to use for this fly is it's called a copper polar chenille. Any kind of chenille or estas will work, just gives the fly a little bit of bulk. Go ahead and tie that in. Wrap the thread forward. What I'm going to do with that is I'm going to palmer it forward. Then with this saddle hackle here, I'm going to take this and wind this forward through the copper polar chenille. Try not to mat any of it down if I can. Right here I'm going to take a little bit of ostrich herl, or they call them spay plumes. This is brown. You can kind of use whatever color you want. I usually like to use brown or olive. And go ahead and tie that in just above it there. Put that off. With this ostrich plume, I don't like to use a ton of it when I'm wrapping it around. Just a little bit, gives it a little bit better motion. You put too much on there, it kind of bulks up and the fly loses all its motion in the water. Give it about 2 or 3 wraps through there. Pull it forward. Clip off the excess. Here in the rivers in Michigan, the steelhead tend to favor flies with a little bit of flash in it. I got this flashy blue here. It's got a mix of colors. It's got a little bit of green, copper, and red in there. I'll take that, just lay a little bit on top of there. You can use more or less flash depending on kind of what's going on in the river. I like to use a little bit for this time of year. Then for the last step, I'll take another piece of this saddle hackle. You can use wood duck flank as well. Strip a little bit back, then you're going to tie this in right there. Pull it back. Then I'll go ahead and palmer this around forward. And what this does is the barbs in this are kind of stiff, and then when it's in the water, it kind of, when this starts to splay out, it gives this a little bit of protection from the water and kind of makes it flare out a little bit more, giving the fly a little bit larger profile. I'll take my whip finisher, give it a few turns. I like to do it about 2 or 3 times just to kind of make sure that thread stays secure on there. Some people like to glue it, but if you do this 2 or 3 times, it's usually more than enough to hold it. Take this bunny strip, flip it over. You splay the tail, go ahead and cut down the middle of it there. What that does is it kicks that apart, and when it's in the water, kind of gives a little bit more action. These 2 pieces will get rattled in the water like that, and sometimes it just drives the fish nuts. Bunny strip spay fly on a tube. Basically, you fish this fly, you don't have to fish it on a spay rod, 2-handed rod or anything. You can fish it on a single-handed rod with a sink tip. You're just going to fish it at a down and across, usually at a 45-degree angle. Swim it across. You can, it swims good whether you're swinging it fast or slower water. If you're fishing some slower water and you want to get it a little more action there, you can take a little bit of deer hair, put it on there, flare it out, or some wool or something like that, just to get a little bit more of a head on the fly. That'll cause the fly to get a little bit more wobbly action in the water. Great fly though.